Coming up on today's episode of HD Nation, Robert's report from CEDIA 2009, the Zune HD. Can this pint-sized player really play back HD quality video? We finished up my hopeless HDTV wall mount installation, and we've got the Blu-ray releases for the week of September 21st, 2009. This is HD Nation. Today's episode is brought to you by Gamefly, Netflix, and GoDaddy.com.
Welcome to HD Nation. I'm Robert Heron.
And I'm Patrick Norton. HD Nation is your guide to the best in HD content and the best in home theater gear, no matter what your budget is. Blu-ray, online, satellite, cable, over the air. If it's HD, we like it. You are fresh back from the Toy Festival of Toy Festivals, CEDIA.
Yeah.
It's not CES.
Nope.
What is CEDIA?
CEDIA is the Consumer Electronics Design and Installation Association. It is a yearly trade show for people who either make the products or install the products that we all know and love, and it has a lot to do with home theater. So.
The deep secret, so it's like the people who normally do high-end audio and video installations,
Totally.
setup, sales, dealers.
It's also training too. CEDIA University is a huge installation of just every course related to pretty much every aspect of either management, sales, installation, of course, testing, verification, blah, blah, blah. You can do it all there.
The deep, dark secret that they don't talk about is a lot of the products you think are new at CES were actually revealed at CEDIA. So,
yeah.
What did you see?
Saw a lot of great things. Of course, LEDs are always popular. Two manufacturers introduced new, and I call them affordable, 65-inch LCD screens, Sharp and Samsung. Now, these are 120 hertz sets, non-LED illuminated. They're actually just the standard fluorescent illuminated. And Sharp introduced the E77UM series, and Samsung introduced the B650 series. Now, they come in smaller sizes as well, but they go up to 65 inches, which used to be a premium spot, but now you can afford that.
What's an affordable 65-inch LCD flat panel?
Listing for around $4 grand, but that should dive fairly soon after release.
So I can either buy my truck again or buy a flat panel.
No, but you think maybe you're looking to replace that rear projection set or something like that, and you need a bigger screen to kind of make up for that. There you go. That's what I'm really looking for.
What else was exciting?
Also, Sharp showed off some new LED backlit LCD televisions as well. Now, they also had a very cool demo setup where they cut a corner of the screen off so you could see through the diffuser layer and see the actual...
That's what the white dots in the corner, I was like, what is that a picture of?
Exactly. You can actually see, now this is what they call the direct lit backlit LCD compared to, say, like an edge lit model where you'd have it around the edges, lighting inward.
Are the actual little LED light modules like you'd see in a flashlight?
Totally.
Or?
Actually, this one is using, the picture we're showing is actually a white LED-based array with be able to do local dimming and other features like that.
So is there a diffusion layer in front of the LED before it gets to the flat panel? Or
multiple layers,
okay.
And everything from diffusion to guiding the light and getting it just right. So when it hits that LCD crystal layer on the top, where they can modulate the light and all that, boom, right out the front.
Are there Fresnel lenses?
No, not that, but other stuff. It's pretty amazing technology when you see all the multiple layers that go into that surface of the screen itself.
What's going on with Samsung?
Samsung introduced their new flagship model. They actually had it on display and working, the B8500 series. It's actually an upgrade to the model right behind us. This is going to be their direct lit LED backlit model, meaning that they can do things like local dimming. They're going to have, of course, real 240 hertz technology. 1.6 inches thick. Now that, to me, is the big deal because the A950 we have behind us, 4.5 inches thick. That was last year's Top Gun. The new one, 1.6 inches thick with that direct light technology, which... that's pretty impressive to me.
At least for the car, they usually don't like halve the weight or double the horsepower in a single year. Oh my goodness.
This is less than half as thick, which is pretty impressive.
What was going on? You said some exciting stuff were going on with Pioneer and Panasonic.
Pioneer showed something I hadn't seen before, and it's called Managed Copy. This will be a new Blu-ray feature coming out hopefully next year, but they were showing a prototype box called the eTap. Now, the eTap is essentially, it looks like a set-top box. It's got they had a demo with a terabyte hard drive in it with supported Blu-ray discs. You'll be able to put one in, and managed copy means you'll be able to create a copy of that video right on the hard drive, and then you can take the disc out and put it back in your library.
That supported Blu-ray disc thing is critical, of course, because every time anybody does something, it allows you to, say, copy DVDs in an encrypted format to a media player. They get sued and, well, close to put out of business by the MPAA.
Unbelievable. So this is hopefully a way to legitimately create your own media server with high-def content.
Because it'll only work if the studio buys into it and allows them to.
Totally.
Okay.
And they were using, I believe, a Disney title as their demo disc at the show floor. Hopefully, we're going to see this next year. There was no timeline for that, and of course, the eTap also supports things like streaming your multimedia content and local video and online features as well. Blah blah blah.
Projectors?
All sorts of cool projector stuff.
Projectors
if you love home theater, Front Projectors are where it's at. My favorite company, Stewart Film Screen, was there showing off their cabaret screens. These are just retractable screen systems that you actually bolt to the wall, attach to the wall, and they have cool LED accent lighting that you can manipulate in any color you want, as well as the screen case itself can be colored any way you want. Not a lot. I mean, it's worth every penny. I'll just leave it at that. You could spend all you want depending on which screen you end up putting in it and what size you want it to be. So I'd say like 1,500 probably on a. No, I'm gonna say probably more than that. I want to go bigger. Go bigger. Spend a little bit more money.
We're going to talk about Runco stuff a little later on.
Finally, yeah. Really? Do you want to? Should I just get into the deal? One of the cool things they had on display was two companies actually were showing off some of the first LED front projectors that I'd seen that could actually put out enough light to be usable. Now, Sim2 and Runco both had products on display. These are expensive. These are two of the most premium front projector companies out there. So we're talking starting prices at about $15,000 on up to about $25,000. A lot of money, but this is first gen stuff with brightness that you can actually use. Now, Joel Silver, he's the head honcho at ISF, the Imaging Science Foundation. He actually had one of the Runco LED projectors in his hand and was able to set that up in a test environment and achieved a 240:1 contrast ratio in a lab environment. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but in the world of front projectors, I have not seen anything greater than that.
Really?
That is epic. That is epic black. Because it's a single chip DLP system. So there are inherent problems with that, actually. It's because you're pulsing the red, the blue, and the green sequentially. There is the possibility that you could end up with some of those rainbow artifacts like we're used to on those single chip DLP rear projection TVs.
Which is really annoying in certain movies.
Especially with black and white or highly contrasted content is where I've always seen it. Now they're claiming that you only see it in test patterns and you won't see it in real world content.
That's cool.
We'll see if somebody actually gets one of these in their hands.
What about less expensive projectors?
Optima. They introduced a sub $999 front projector with 1080p resolution. I thought that was pretty neat, but even more impressive, Optima and other companies were demonstrating front projectors that added interpolation-based smoothing, similar to that effect you get with 120 hertz or 240 hertz televisions.
Cool. Except I hate the way they look.
It was really weird to look at a front projector doing that smoothing effect compared to, say, like, you're almost used to it nowadays on LCD television.
You had the don't call it an AVR category. What's going on there?
A couple of companies were introducing new products. Sherwood has something called the Netbox, and Yamaha has a product called the Neo HD Media Controller. They're doing everything possible not to call these an audio-video receiver. They just want you to say, hey, look, we have a digitally amplified box. It supports a lot of different codecs. It will stream your content either from online or through your home network. And I think these are going to become very popular devices. And they're also sized to fit more in line with your other components, like your Blu-ray players.
HD 3D.
Yeah.
Sounds ridiculous.
No, this has been talked about for quite a while, and we're seeing it now in commercial cinema. But Panasonic has the best darn tech I've seen so far. They call it Full HD 3D. It is using plasma technology because plasma pixels can update so quickly, they can actually drive 1080p 60 imagery into each eye. Full 10, of course. Now the problem is you're still wearing the liquid crystal shutter glasses. Ooh. They are getting smaller, but you do have to wear those glasses. But they are giving you full 1080p 60 resolution into each eye, and it was seamless. It was really one of the more impressive demos I've seen of the technology. It was something, if you can get past the glasses, I would watch it.
And finally, uncompressed HDMI wireless?
Lots of companies, LG, Sony, and Panasonic were all showing off uncompressed 1080p 60 wireless enabled models. Now they're all using similar 60 gigahertz technology, but these are now coming into the market. We should be seeing these anytime now.
Wow.
It means no more wires between the TV and the receiver part. You basically have just power cords. Power cord, at least for just the TV. You have the separate receiver box that has all of your video sources connect to that and transmit wirelessly to the display.
And you're torturing me because you say somebody's got satellite TV of premium satellite TV channels into a home theater PC.
Yep. Dish Network has a demo where they were showing off using the pretty standard set-top boxes. They didn't incorporate hard drives or anything, but it was USB connected to a computer running Windows Media Player, and it was showing off a full demo of being able to access that satellite content through a Windows Media interface, and then all of the other things you can think of doing with that, like extending it to, say, an Xbox 360 or somewhere else in the living room. Solid. They have no plans to release that yet. They were just trying to get feedback. So if you really want it, give Dish a call and say, you know what, I heard about that and I'm interested. So.
Yeah, somebody who wanted it from DirecTV waited 2 years until November of 2008 when it was canceled. It would be nice to have satellite that could interface with a home theater PC. Up next, we're going to be talking about the releases from the Blu-ray camp coming up this week. But first, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, GameFly. GameFly is the largest online video game rental service and offers a choice of over 6,000 new and classic titles across all console and handhelds. With plans starting at $15.95 a month, GameFly members can rent 1 to 4 games at a time and keep them for as long as they like. No late fees, no due dates, and shipping is always free. Once you're done playing a game, send it back and GameFly will send you the next available game on your list. If you really like the game you're playing, simply click Keep It on the GameFly website and the game is yours at a discounted price. GameFly will even mail you the case and manuals free of charge. As an HD Nation fan, you can score a 2-week free trial by going to www.gamefly.com/HDNation. Some restrictions do apply. See the site for details and do us a favor here at HD Nation. Support us by supporting our sponsors. So, it's time. Every Saturday, you are now glued to your television. What are you watching?
I'm watching The Race for the Chase. It's NASCAR. Da-da. My favorite HD probably right now. Now that I discovered that MotoGP is not in HD, at least here in the US, why, I have no idea. Premier motorcycle racing.
To piss you off.
At least they're cropping the 4x3 frame to 16:9 without doing a weird stretch or anything, but that's disappointing. But anyway, NASCAR's in its last 10 races for the championship, and I'm all over that every Sunday. And of course, football. Americans football is back.
I'm completely avoiding football as much as possible. You know what I'm obsessed with? My son's gotten to the point where he's watching like his favorite movie over and over again, which right now is Pixar's Cars. So I've been watching all of the detail in the background that you couldn't see in the DVD, from the texture on the track and the tires and the unbelievable, just the amount of detail that they've crammed in some of those scenes is incredible. The texture, actually.
I didn't notice it until later on, but if you watch the movie all the way to the end, you eventually see one of the little bugs that flies around is actually a little Volkswagen Beetle with wings.
Wait, in the Blu-ray, you can actually see them in the opening, like the opening scene when they're bumping up against the
and the Italian tire shop owners, the one who wears the Italian wig, and he's got that wig is so detailed that he has one. I was just like, you can feel like you could touch it. Beautiful.
What you're basically saying is, Pixar, you do beautiful things. Thank you so much.
Doesn't take much to make me dream.
Oh my goodness! Coming out Blu-ray this week, we have Adam Resurrected, Battle for Terra, Clive Barker's Book of Blood, Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, Godzilla, yes. The Haunted World of El Superbisto, which sounds awesome. Hot Fuzz, one of my favorite comedies. Observe and Report, not one of my favorite comedies. From our favorite high-end Blu-ray collection, Pierre LaFou from the Criterion Collection. Scooby-Doo, The Mystery Begins. Shaun of the Dead, another great flick. Terminator, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, the complete second season. Wallace and Gromit, the complete collection, which I will be buying the moment it hits the street. And a whole slew of Star Trek goodness. Or Star Trek, if you're not a big Star Trek fan, including Star Trek, First Contact, Star Trek, The Next Generation Motion Picture Collection, Star Trek, The Original Series Season 2, Star Trek, The Undiscovered Country, Star Trek, The Voyage Home, Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan. What's up with Star Trek this month?
Apparently Paramount's just doing the dump.
Okay, so it's not like a special Star Trek anniversary or anything?
If they're moving these to Blu-ray, hopefully they're doing really nice transfers too.
That would be nice.
I hope so. I need my con.
Of course, they're Star Trek fans, so they can do a bad transfer, then a good transfer, and they'll buy both of them. Hey, also released this week for the boomers and the boomer wannabes in the house, Monterey Pop, as in the festival. In 1967, the complete collection features acts like Janis Joplin, Simon and Garfunkel, the Mamas and the Papas, and more, like Country Joe and the Fish, opening the show with the Fish Cheer. Or you can pick up Jimmy Plays Monterey, Shake Otis at Monterey, which includes the full sets from Jimi Hendrix and Otis Redding at the Monterey Pop Festival. And if you want the full package, everything, you get them together as the complete Monterey Pop Festival.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, actually, if you're into the whole 60s music thing, that's a pretty awesome.
Hopefully the audio is just spot on too, or as good as it could be.
Well, it was pretty good back then. It's good stuff. In any case, coming up next, we're going to finish up my miserable wall mount installation where Mr. Heron will make fun of me. But first, we got to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors.
If you're looking for a place to find a great selection of Blu-ray discs, look no further than our next sponsor, Netflix. With Netflix, you can rent over 90,000 titles online, including lots of Blu-ray titles, with free shipping both ways to your home. They now have over 40 shipping centers, so almost all deliveries happen in just one business day. Plans start from $4.99, but as a new member, you can get a no-risk 2-week free trial membership. Check it out at www.netflix.com/HDNation. Remember to type in the www when using this code.
I like the Zune. It's a solid portable media player. The interface is good, the audio quality is excellent. The Zune HD, though, is a slightly different beast, and it's raised some questions from the HD Nation crew. Why would a hardcore HD fan care about a personal media player? Because the Zune HD offers 720p video playback over HDMI. We're a home theater show, so we're not going to get into the Zune HD's built-in HD radio, the quality audio playback, the really engaging interface. Actually, I really like the new interface. It is really sweet. So is the gorgeous 3.3-inch OLED multi-jet screen, which is 16:9, but not actually in HD resolution.
Oh.
It's a little weird, but it looks really, really good. Or the latest Zune software release, which is a little confusing at first, but is really engaging in the way it combines elements of your personal collection, the downloadable Zune collection, stuff you've ripped, and kind of brings it all together. What we are going to talk about is the Zune HD and connecting it to your HDTV. Yes, there is definitely 720p output, and check this out. I'm going to click videos, and I'm going to go to TV, and I got the fat little Battlestar Galactica in here. We got Unfinished Business, and it looks gorgeous. But that doesn't come out of the basic Zune HD, which costs $220 for 16 gigabytes and $290 for 32 gigabytes. To get the HDMI output, you need the optional $90 Zune HD AV dock. It comes with a nice remote as long as you don't get it backwards. Basically, it's
a little symmetrical.
It's a little symmetrical, but the truth is the button that is important is concave and at the top of the control, versus if you hold it the wrong way, like I did a few minutes ago, which caused Mr. Heron to mock me openly. And
no, I mocked design.
You did mock design, but actually, if you're competent in handling the remote, it's not too bad. And yeah, it is actually a pretty nice remote. It's simple. It obviously takes after the iPod school of remotes, or I should say the Apple TV school of remotes. Actually, it comes with HDMI cables, a hefty HDMI cable and component cable in the box, the dock itself, but it is $90 to get the remote control and the high-def output. The video from the Zune store looks awesome, but it is not cheap, and it's done by Microsoft's stupid point system. Do you like the point system?
What is the point system?
Well, okay, so in this case, it's not the Xbox 360 point system. In this case, it's the Zune point system. I don't know if they're interchangeable, but the point is it's $15 to buy 1,200 points. An HD movie to buy, at least the ones I looked at, were 1,440 points. An HD episode of Battlestar Galactica, 240 points. A SD episode of a favorite children's program, The Backyardigans, was 140 points, and none of that particularly translates well in my head. Maybe once you've bought enough stuff, you think in terms of points to dollars. I'd just rather have a dollar amount. And that's like my first downside, is the content's not cheap. It is of high quality, but it is not cheap.
How was the performance downloading that content?
Fairly fast. It's been kind of, they updated, not just, they released the Zune HD. They have the new version of the Zune software, which I really like. They shut down the whole back end in the process of launching the new software application and the new back end for that. So there's been it's been kind of hammered, but it was still fairly fast. We were looking like 20, 30 minutes for a pretty hefty download.
Okay.
That said, I want to say about 20 to 25 minutes for a 30 to 45 minute television show. I expect that's going to drop as the sort of initial frenzy around the launch of the Zune HD kind of winds itself down.
Totally. If I can get a Blu-ray movie on sale for about $15, I certainly don't want to be paying for something that's half resolution. No. Granted, portability is nice, though.
Portability is nice. I gotta say, though, this is also not a replacement for a universal set-top box. It does support WMV, MPEG-4, H.264, and DVR-MS. That's the recorded video from a Windows Media Center, but it does not support DivX or MKV files, which means peer-to-peer pirates will find this useless without spending a lot of time transcoding all of their video. You can pretty much say the same thing for the iPod Touch, though, which doesn't have the HDMI output, at least not without a dock that doesn't exist that we haven't seen yet. Look, this is an outstanding portable media player. The dock is great for playback on HDTV. I'm thinking this would be great for like that one business hotel in Vegas by the Hard Rock where they have the huge HDTV screens in every room and HDMI input for everything. It's easy to access. That would be great, right? But if all you want is a set-top box to stream and store and play HD movies, we'd probably go with a dedicated set-top box. But if you are looking for a non-iPod portable player that can do HD output, this one's definitely worth considering. But the Zune HD is definitely not cheap, especially if you spring for the HDAV dock, which is going to run you $90.
Ooh. What did you think about the OLED screen in terms of usability, performance? Was it snappy?
The OLED screen is gorgeous. What you're looking at right now is it playing video in the handheld version, and I'm going to pop back out of that and check it out, right? So we go to the center. If you tap on it once, there's into the radio. It is crisp,
smooth
and
animations,
clean.
Snappy.
It's gorgeous, dude, and it sounds awesome. And I really like the current interface on there. The whole quick play setup is pretty awesome. It's not cheap, but it looks good.
Beautiful.
So I finally got my HD. You weren't here last week.
No.
You missed the lesson in measuring and checking for studs before you yank your old HDTV mount off the wall.
Measure twice, cut once.
In any case, one of my shelf supports was occupying a critical location in front of the stud where we wanted to hang the HDTV mount. Thankfully, a Dremel tool and 3 or 4 cutting blades helped me cure that problem. Here's how the rest of our experiment with installing an HDTV mount went down. When we stopped last week, we were stymied because our studs were here, and this giant section of bookshelf support was in the way. So I grabbed my Dremel tool, a cutoff wheel. We cut that off. If you've never actually used a stud finder before, this is what the little gadget basically looks like. And you slide it to the left or right, and as it approaches wood behind there, it gives you a mark. So we make a mark on the left, a mark going to the right. In between those is the center, like you can see right here. And the way you absolutely know you hit a stud is when you drill in. First you'll get the white powder from the gypsum, and then you'll get sawdust coming out in the drill bit. We've got our 2 topmost mounts here. I'm going to hang this on there. We're going to position it, and then we're going to drill the bottom ones and continue in the mounting process. Fastener covers are installed. Now it's time to install monitor to arm assembly. Right now though, we're going to undo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hex fasteners so we can get to these 2 screws up here. Let's talk about 2 quick things before we go. 1, there's always a way to secure the mount, which is usually attached to the TV before you attach it to the wall mount. In this case, it's a single bolt down here. Make sure everything's set up tight and use whatever washers, basically like big fat fender washers they give you with that to help keep that from pulling out. That's pretty critical. 2, we're going to start playing around with cable layout. You're going to want to play around with the layout before you start zip tying it and strapping it down. Right now though, I'm going to get him in the tub and we're going to get those cables running and we'll see what it looks like. Be right back. All right, you can see it took about 2 minutes to hang this once I could actually reach the studs. So do yourself a favor, don't be like me. Get out the stud finder and the measuring tape first before you start tearing apart the living room. Now, despite measuring the mount position on the TV, the mount position on the wall, and estimating the height, I still ended up adjusting the height of the bracket so it would be a bit higher up. It happens. The really nice thing though about the new mount is that even if my little guy does try to do pull-ups again, he's going to have to gain a lot of weight before he plus the television exceed the weight rating on the mount. Look, there are dozens, if not hundreds of HDTV mounts, from slim designs to arms that seem like they can practically reach to another room, but the basics, properly securing them to a stud with the right hardware, are going to remain the same, at least for wood studs. If you're in a newer home with folded steel studs, do me a favor, let me know how your HDTV mounting is going. Email me, hdnation@revision3.com. After the break, we got some HD questions to answer, but first, a message from one of our sponsors, GoDaddy.com. Get reliable, secure web hosting without a long-term contract. GoDaddy's hosting plans are bigger and better than ever with 99% uptime, free 24/7 support, and no annual commitment. GoDaddy.com makes it easy to customize your own virtual dedicated server. Choose one of 3 popular plans, select your own Linux or Windows server, and get all the plan options you need. Plus, use the code HDN2 to get $5 off any order of $30 or more. Some restrictions do apply. See the site for details. And be sure to check out revision3.com/GoDaddy for all the HD Nation GoDaddy deals and codes. Do us a favor, get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com and use one of our HDN codes for a discount when you do. We recently got an email from James. He's got a common question. He writes in, I've got a Vizio 37-inch TV. It's native 720p, but it'll take 1080i inputs. Would I get a better HD picture if I use that 1080i input? Mr. Heron.
Well, chances are the TV he has as an actual pixel resolution, the screen itself is probably 1366 by 768.
Dun dun dun.
Common HD resolution. So it's in between 720p and 1080. So it's actually just over 1 million pixels. It's actually very close to 720p, but in my experience, the short answer is set it to 1080i because you do have extra vertical resolution that you could take advantage of if the TV is doing a good job at deinterlacing that 1080i signal, which most are nowadays.
Yeah, if you have an older model like I do, it may do an absolutely awful job at deinterlacing that 1080i video and look even worse than being set at 720p. So I'd say try them both and see which one.
Definitely try them both, but it's tough because I always end up usually going 1080i with set-top boxes just for a variety of reasons. But because there's a lot of content out there that's actually shot in 1080 line video. It's another good reason.
We got time for one more question?
Do it.
It's another classic question. Chris writes in, is there any reason for me to go out and buy a digital audio coaxial cable? Or am I getting the same exact signal if I just use a cheap old RCA cable? So the barrel connectors, right?
Totally.
Silver pin or gold pin with the big wrapped pins around it.
High performance gold coating. Wire's wire, I'll be honest with you. I actually had this same situation occur. I was traveling out of town last weekend at a friend's house. He ran out of optical inputs. He had a coaxial digital input on the back of his receiver. Found any cable just to make that connection work, as long as it's in decent shape. If you can grab one of the video cables, like if you have like a red and the white for left and right audio, and you have the yellow cable is actually usually shielded a little bit better. So that might help. You probably won't notice a difference either way. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically, when it's a digital output, you're carrying zeros and ones. You're not actually carrying all the cool waves in there. You're just carrying bits. So I wouldn't sweat it too much.
Avoid something that's excessively long. That's the only thing I can think of that might cause problems. But if it's a short 3-inch run or 3-foot run, you're going to be fine.
I'd also avoid, excessive expense, because then you might end up feeling stupid when you realize it sounds exactly the same as a 50-cent cable that came out of the bottom of a Cracker Jack box, or that 17-year-old stereo you forgot about. It's amazing what you can find in the cable box. Oh my goodness, one of Revision 3's favorite shows is getting a makeover. It's a brand new look for the Totally Rad Show, your favorite source for geek-filled discussion of movies, video games, TV, comics, and more. We're talking a new show open, new graphics, a new theme song, just to make TRS with Alex, Jeff, and Dan even more rad. Don't miss the newest chapter in the Totally Rad Show starting this Tuesday. Catch them every week at revision3.com/TRS. It's wicked cool, kids.
We hope you guys enjoyed this episode of HD Nation. As always, we want to know what you think, so send your comments, questions, or suggestions to hdnation@revision3.com.
You can hang out with other viewers in the HD Nation forums at revision3.com/forum, and you can find links galore in the show notes at revision3.com/HDNation.
You'll also find all the links to subscribe to the show, so if you're not getting the latest episode of HD Nation delivered to your podcatcher, what are you waiting for?
That's right, subscribe, watch, and do us a favor, tell your friends about HD Nation. Till next time.
Thanks for watching. I'm Robert Heron.
And I'm Patrick Norton. We'll see you next week.